Hello and welcome to the Mad Sounds podcast. This is episode 96 and it's an exciting one. Well, it's actually not. It's actually quite a sorrowful episode and we'll get to that in a minute. But I would like to start the episode by saying I am joined for his hat trick, the bass player of the Praetors, the longtime friend and my kind of go-to for talking about, I don't even know how to describe it. I feel like there's a type of album that we'd do together I wouldn't do with anyone else, but it isn't like genre specific. Anyway, I'm joined by Lucas.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's been a long time. How have you been since your last episode? Have you been yearning for the podcast?
I have, actually. I've sort of had withdrawals.
You are actually one of two people that I've ever had on as a guest to do an album and interviewed. Yours was a much more formal interview than, I know, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Than the other one I'm on about. But yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be going through. So recently, the producer and just kind of G. I mean, amongst other things, I think one of my favorite things about this dude is that he was funny as fuck. But Steve Albini.
I think it's Albini.
I think it's Albini. That's what I wanted to say, but I didn't want to be horribly wrong. Call him that. Steve Albini. He's like, you know, I think if you're involved in music, you kind of know him by proxy of just like, even if you've not listened to his solo stuff, he produced so many albums. And also, I think he was quite prevalent on forums and Twitter and stuff for just saying weird things.
Oh, yeah.
Like, not bad, just weird. You actually messaged me when he died, and that's kind of why we're doing this episode together, just because I feel like you know a lot more about him than me, so I can kind of learn as we go, and we can just kind of go through some of his releases, chat about him, anything that that comes up about him. I'm going to get some stuff up on my phone as well, just because, as I say, I'm not the most well-versed. You know a lot more than me, Lucas, and you actually have listened to quite a lot of, we're going to call him Shellac.
Shellac, yeah.
Shellac. That's his band. Well, one of them. He was in another band that has a much dodgier name. But yeah, so I listened to that just before we started recording, and I really liked it. I mean, that wasn't ever really in dispute. But I think one thing I would like to start with is I just recall reading an article, I think it was the day that he passed away, and it was actually. Are you aware of his big thing about Tool?
No, I don't think so.
Well, he just kind of used to go off about Tool sometimes. And I've actually got a quote, and this is just kind of, I'd like to start our conversation about Steve Albini with this. Off the top of my head, the only things I know about Tool are that one stop motion video, which is so bad it made me laugh out loud, and that their drummer was a soft rock session guy who was also in Green Jello.
Oh, yeah. Actually, that
it's just, I don't know if it comes across as well in how I can kind of give it, but there's something about this fella's way with words that's just fucking brutal, and I love that.
Oh.
So I will start off first and foremost. I think it's fair to say within rock, he produced and created quite a wide array of records, including some of my favourites, probably some of your favourites, and some of the probably like best. And I would like to say, firstly, I can kind of give a bit of feedback to this as well, but I don't think I have as much of an answer. Do you feel as though he has a production style?
Oh, yeah, I'd definitely say that.
What would you say? What are you saying?
The drums, mainly. Like, the way he mixes drums is just, like, very upfront and in your face.
I have to... Yeah, I see that. I definitely... I agree, actually, with one of the things I was going to say, as much as I don't know as much. I definitely feel as though I think In Your Face is a really good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Two of the probably the biggest albums, which we'll get into later, that he. In fact, I'll add this actually. One thing that made him such a good producer, and he worked on so many albums, right? And one of the things that I think makes him so important is two things. One, I feel like there's a very no frills approach to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like we both like music that punches you in the balls. And I feel like his. I mean, I feel like that's one thing with his production is you're not getting this like, it's not going to be overly clean. It's not going to be like overproduced. It's going to be very much the song, and kind of go with that. I feel like he works really, really well with the sound the band want.
Yeah.
Like,
I definitely agree with that.
yeah, and I'll give an example actually. Probably the album of his, or at least one of the few that I know the best, In Utero,
Yeah, of course.
which is the best Nirvana album.
True.
Is it your favourite?
Yeah, mine.
Good. It should be.
Yeah, I just love it, man. And part of that is just down to his production style.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, milk it.
Oh,
Yeah, it's very. Yeah,
yeah,
I know that it kind of sounds like I'm saying the same thing, but it's just very upfront, and I think it comes across as him really respecting what the band wants, because In Utero is coming off the back of Nevermind, right?
yeah, which is
Now,
like a big breakthrough album.
and also sonically, it's probably just as akin to surfer rock as it is anything else. I like Nevermind, right? Love probably, but it is.
It's an amazing album.
It is, but it is so. It's produced very, very produced. I would say at least.
Definitely.
Which In Utero isn't. So I think that kind of speaks as a testament to, because I feel like a lot of producers at the time would have been like, yeah, I don't want you to make a horrible, screechy, heavy album with songs with dodgy titles. But I'll ask you now, what is your favourite record he has had involvement in?
Oh, that is a good question. I mean, it is a basic pick, but I think I'd have to go with In Utero.
That honestly, fair enough. Do you know what other one he produced that I found really fascinating? Surfer Rosa.
Oh, Pixies, yeah.
Shout out Pixies.
I think that was like his first big production job as well.
As far as I can tell, yeah, he did a lot of stuff in the 80s, but nothing quite like that.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, I think one of the beauties of, I think one of the things with him, we will talk about Shellac, right? Because I think that really molds the perception of him in a good way. But the reason I feel like a lot of producers that get a lot of credit, Brian Eno, Rick Rubin, I think Brian Eno is a really good example because I love so much of his stuff. But to take the example that's prominent in my head, the oh my god, when I love this because we're both massive nerds. The Berlin trilogy by David Bowie. I'd say, to be fair, Heroes isn't maybe as, but that I feel like they're very produced albums.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that Steve Albini did that was really well was work, like, it really allows the talent of the band to show off, but that doesn't mean there isn't some cool production-y stuff. I've been very vocal on this podcast about, I think, I feel like I have to defend myself more than I actually do yet, because I know that I don't talk about as many female artists, but I do have, like, I have very, very particular favourites.
Yeah,
and I've been so vocal that PJ Harvey is like one of my big, like, she's like Nick Cave level for me.
Yeah.
And Rid of Me by PJ Harvey is one that my boy produced.
It does, yeah.
How much experience of this have you had?
What, of that album?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, I haven't actually listened to it that much.
Mm-hmm.
Like once or twice all the way through, but Honestly, his production on that album is insane. Like, I just love what he does on that.
Agreed. And you might be hearing background. I apologize for that.
No, it's fine.
I'm just playing.
Background in mine.
I'm playing a quick snippet of it just for myself, just because. Yeah, I feel like it's a production style that just works. I won't keep saying this and we'll move on, but it just works so well with artistry.
It does, yeah.
PJ Harvey is a fantastic artist, and I just think that he produced in a way that really suited it. And I think that's why I feel as though a lot of the people that are really paying attention to what in passing and really have like taken it, you like that type of music, and I think it's nice that someone's so influential and stuff. It isn't because he's like really over the top and whatever, which I think transfers quite nicely to Shellac.
Yeah.
Now, you are much more well versed in this. I've listened to the first few tracks of Action Park. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, the debut.
And I'd just like I'd kind of like just go on a ramble. I would like you to just kind of shoot.
All right. Well, for me, it's their best album up there. I mean, it's a style of music that I already love, and the fact that he's like made this album in this style that I already love, and he does a really fucking good job at it. Like,
it's one thing I like about it, and I know that you also love this, is it feels quite riffy to me.
Yeah.
But riffy in God. Sometimes I listen to what I'm about to say. What was that? Sorry.
I'm saying it's not like metal, but it has sort of elements of that. If you know.
No, I agree. Kind of like some Weezer songs kind of have elements of metal without being metal.
Yeah. No,
and to give another heinous example, one of the things that the riffiness kind of reminds me of is actually Swans. Right. Let's take as the song specifically, right? Screenshot. Because in my head, that is that's probably the most accessible Swan song.
That's fair.
Yeah, but I love it. But I mean, like, do you know how it's that one riff? I feel like that riffiness is something that he did. So I know I should know this, but I assume he was a guitarist.
Oh yeah.
Was he a vocalist as well?
Mm-hmm. He does.
Okay,
that album.
I thought so, but I didn't want to say it and then be an idiot.
No,
How do you feel about his vocals?
I mean, I think they perfectly suit that style of music. Because it's not singing. It's not like. I mean, he is screaming sometimes, but it's more just like kind of talking, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very much delivery.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, which I like, to be honest. I kind of like weird vocal performances, and he's also one thing that I do actually like. So there's obviously instrumental tracks and whatever. I get the sense that it's quite sparse with the lyrics sometimes.
Yeah.
But I like that.
I know it's more so about the instrumentation and like just the texture of it than anything else, really.
It is, and that's actually one of the things that stood out to me. And I'm glad that I've just gone on Genius and Song of the Minerals off that.
Yeah.
Not only that, I feel like that's probably quite. That's a good example of a lyrically focused song by him, but it's also clever because the first lyric is fully just a Shakespeare like stanza, and but I love that. Like, I think I don't know. I feel like that's just such a cool style. It's an album that I really do want to go kind of further into. They're interesting because these came after his other band.
Yeah.
His other band. I mean, I feel like I need to know why they're called that.
Actually, I was reading about this, and it's actually named after like a Japanese manga kind of thing.
Oh, I've just read what it was about. I'm not saying that.
Oh god.
But
I feel like I can guess what it is. Just
I'll put it this way: it's his he's like a hitman, but he does that.
Oh right, okay.
Instead,
yeah, that makes a lot of sense now.
However, that also is something that I like about his lyrics being quite sparse and kind of almost like, okay, right, corny as fuck, because I know that they have a song that starts with something along the lines of "This is sad,"
Oh yeah, yeah.
and I'm gonna actually look that up real quick.
Squirrel song, I think it is.
I think you might be right there. Yes, this is a sad fucking song. We'll be lucky if I don't burst out crying.
I love.
And that is shown with his other band being called that. It's dumb. And again, that is reflected by he's one of these producers that's just a bit of a prick. He's just kind of like, yeah, that's dumb. I saw something that was him, and it was about a quote he said, and I can't remember what it was, right? But he said a quote that kind of sounded like it was really thoughtful, and someone brought it up to him, and he was just like, I don't fucking know. Probably ignore it. Like he justified himself and said, I don't really know why you care. I'd just ignore it. It's just weird. I think. Do you feel as though he was? I know this kind of should go without saying, but do you feel as though he was one of the more prominent producers in kind of rock?
Yeah, especially for like the 90s underground, I'd definitely say so.
100%, 100%. Yeah, I feel as though. Okay, I think you might agree with me here. I feel as though his absence from music and stuff, and I don't know how much he kind of did over the last few years, but I have found some stuff. I know that he hadn't stopped, right?
Didn't stop at all.
I know that he's done like a lot, but I feel like it's something that's going to be felt a lot more by production-y music nerds.
Yeah.
Which is sad, isn't it? I feel like producers should get credit more. And I think that is why in kind of the hip hop scene, we're seeing producer albums now a lot more.
Yeah, yeah.
Like kind of in the past, when you've seen producer albums, you're looking at producers that then rap, like Dr. Dre. Whereas now you have your Metro Boomins, again, I know Pierre Bourne does vocals, I suppose that doesn't count, but
He's
I like
known as a vocalist though, isn't he? Like he's more known as a producer.
Yeah. So stuff like that. But I know Steve Albini is like, I know maybe it's a weird comparison because it's not like he isn't known, because his bands are loved as fuck.
Yeah.
Like you can't really go anywhere at the minute without seeing someone having like a traumatic story connected to like at Action Park. well, it's understandable. It's amazing. It's like nostalgic and whatever. I get that, but like I feel like. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like more producers should be, and maybe it was more of the time that he was prominent. That maybe if it was now, he might be getting more recognition. It's like, because Tame Impala produces stuff. Like he has credits on some of the new Dua Lipa songs as a producer. So I suppose. If Shellac was about now, and did say that replicates how well it did, there'd probably be people like, oh shit, you heard this new Nirvana? It was produced by the guy from Shellac.
Yeah.
Oh, this is ridiculous, but I love it. Let's go. I'll talk about some other albums he produced real quick. What I am actually going to do, I'm going to actually get up some of the best albums he produced. Feel free to just, if you have any facts up or anything, feel free to just go. I will kind of fill the time between, but just shoot.
Yeah. Actually, one of my other favourites that he did. I'm not sure how familiar you are with Jawbreaker.
I saw we have a playlist, and I saw you put that in. I've not.
That album he produced, 24-Hour Revenge Therapy, which is, I want to say it's their best album. But yeah, again, his production style's all over that. It's very lo-fi, very noisy. Drums right up front, vocals are slightly buried.
I like that. And I've got a fun fact. I didn't know this. Do you know apparently he was like a really big poker player?
Oh yeah, I remember saying that. I was like, okay.
He won some World Series poker games. But I've just actually read here, this is interesting. He was very influenced by John Lauder, I think that's how you pronounce it, who actually, this is really fucking dope to me. He did a lot of like Crass, but one of my favourites, one of my favourite albums of all time, that the John Lauder produced is Psycho Candy by the Jesus and Mary Chain.
Chain, yes.
Mate, I love it.
It's a...
And that's a one of a kind album. But apparently Albini was actually heavily influenced by him because he quote unquote produced a lot of punk records quickly and cheaply.
Yeah.
Which actually speaks to it. And another thing that is notable about Steve Albini is his adoration for analog recording as opposed to adopting digital. I mean, shout out analog recording.
Oh, 100%.
But that's just interesting to me. And obviously, I mean, there's just so much that this guy did, and I feel like this episode serves as more of a letter to just be like, this guy was dope. We're commemorating him. Go listen to Shellac. You probably know In Utero.
Oh, well, I would assume so.
And I would also assume, if you haven't listened to Surfer Rosa, you should, by the way. Yeah. I'm going to assume you also know Where Is My Mind?
Yeah.
So if nothing else, you know that. PJ Harvey, I mean, this man produced a hell of a lot of albums. I got slightly distracted there when I said I was going to get up a list of albums, but that's because I'm a silly little fella. But I mean, this guy... I mean, if anyone that knows studios and stuff, he owned, I believe, or founded and owned Electrical Audio.
Yep.
And I would just like to say this man had that Night Owl Music Promotions ethos, and he never took money from anyone that used his studio for like it's the money they made off it.
Yeah, the royalties.
He never took royalties just for like doing the studio and stuff. Like, he was like, what a G.
I know.
Because like for that's the type of thing. Like if he said that to you, you'd be like, actually, no, you can have some. Like, nice one, mate. He had a very don't give a fuck attitude, and I love that. And I've been scrolling up and down this Wikipedia page trying to find the page dedicated to albums he did, and it's not going well.
It's called Steve Albini Discography.
But it's recorded discography, isn't it? Oh, okay. I've got it.
Yeah, you got it.
Although it would be a lot nicer if it said, huh. Oh, in fact, you know what? We can talk about one album he produced. And now I assume you like them because it's you. I've not actually listened to this, but he produced that one Godspeed You Black Emperor album that has like a gibberish, that one of the ones that has a gibberish name.
Yeah.
Yankee UXO.
You know, the funny thing is, I haven't actually listened to that album.
Me neither.
I've listened to the two before it, but not that one.
Oh, I mean, the two before it are absolutely amazing. And so is the Godspeed something, that one.
Listen to that one.
You know, it's really good. They're actually they're got Godspeed You Black Emperor are playing in Glasgow.
Really?
When? September. Damn, I love Godspeed You Black Emperor.
That would be insane to see live as well.
It would. I mean, I know that this is like the obvious pick, but the first album kind of falls into this as well. But Lift Your Skinny Fists is the most cinematic thing.
Yeah.
That was actually what made me like post-rock.
Yeah, that's fair. I can't remember if that was like the first post-rock album I heard.
It's a funny genre, post-rock.
Yeah.
For anyone that hasn't listened to it, it's basically, imagine a rock song and then get rid of like a hook and make it half an hour long. Yeah. That's what post-rock is. And that maybe doesn't sound enticing, but when you sit down, you just stick an album on and you just sit. You can I can just sit and listen to that album, but obviously there's so much to it, isn't there? I mean, you start listening to it and it's like every time you listen to it, you find something new.
That's what I love about it.
Agreed. It's a really fucking cinematic, like one of a kind experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Now some albums that he did. I've just found one here. Wow, I've never listened to this, but do you know he produced a Jarvis Cocker solo album?
I did see that, yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh, do you know what else is probably more amazing than that? I think he produced like Robert Plant and Jimmy Page. Like, yeah.
I saw that and I was just kind of like, what? He produced Tweez by Slint, and now I don't know why I know Slint. Have you told me to listen to them?
Have you listened to Spiderland?
Yes,
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably
that's why I know them. He produced Tweez by them, which I've not listened to, but I like that project. I have heard.
I was going to say Tweez is a very interesting album.
Is it good?
Like the complete opposite of Spiderland, really.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's. I don't know if there's much in the way of like actual songs on it, but it's like very heavy and dissonant and just weird as fuck. I kind of like it though.
Is it like an experience? Would you say?
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of Jawbreaker here. I would also like to point out real quick his other band before the one that we're not saying the name of. Big, is it just Big Black?
Big Black. Yeah.
I've lost it straight. Have you listened to much of them?
Yeah, I've listened to both the albums that they released.
Oh, right.
Probably not as much as Shellac. Like that's my preferred Albini band, I guess. But but Big Black have some really good stuff as well. Atomizer is probably the one to go for, which is the first one.
Yeah, for sure. He produced, I mean, some of these album covers are sick. I know that's not really how we're meant to be discussing here, but I'm not knowing a lot of these albums. But one, they kind of